Grace and peace to you from God, who sends the Spirit upon us, who guides us, and who is always with us. Amen. First impressions. Do you remember your first impression of someone important in your life? I remember the night that I met Kyle. This was long before I knew he was going to become my husband. When I met Kyle in 2014, my first impression of him was he was kind, loyal, a good friend, and of course, someone fun to be around. Those first impressions haven't changed. I still see Kyle in all of those same ways. In our story for today from Luke, a lot of people have offered up their first impressions of Jesus. And Jesus has built a really great reputation for himself. People were impressed with him. And people were saying a lot of really great things about Jesus, about his ministry, about what he was teaching. Jesus was praised by everyone, Luke tells us. That's a great reputation. Don't you sometimes wish that you could have such overwhelming support and encouragement? This is the beginning of Jesus' ministry. Luke 4 really sets the stage for what's to come in Luke's gospel. This section of Luke reveals a lot about Jesus, who Jesus is, what Jesus is here to do, and for whom Jesus came. So when Jesus walks into the temple, opens the scroll to read Isaiah, what we have here is Jesus' life, his ministry, his purpose, all rolled together in a nutshell. What Jesus is saying here is God has picked me. God has chosen me, Jesus, as the anointed one. God picked me to share good news with the poor, to give pardon to the prisoners, to give sight to the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord. That's Jesus' mission statement, friends. This, of course, got me thinking about a lot of things. Our theme for today came to me because I can't stop thinking about Taylor Swift. I can't stop thinking about when we will finally get to listen to Reputation Taylor's version. It's been on my mind a lot. My TikTok algorithm is very Taylor heavy. This album, originally released in 2017, was a response to the media scrutiny of Taylor's private life and her public image from the years 2014 to 2017. As Taylor re-records all of her albums to own her masters, she's done a lot of reflection on her reputation, on what she wants to be known as a person, as a performer, as a songwriter, as a businesswoman. I love that she is more than just her music. I am such a fan because of what Taylor has done outside of her music, what she has said outside of her music. She once said, no matter what happens in life, be good to people. Being good to people is a wonderful legacy to leave behind. I've been thinking a lot about my own mission statement, about who I am, about what I value. How do I want to be known as a person, as a pastor, as a follower of Jesus, as a parent? Ultimately, like Taylor, I want to be good to people. I want to be a part of what Jesus did and what Jesus is continuing to do today. In what ways do I contribute to the work Jesus started when he stood up in the temple to read Isaiah thousands of years ago? How am I bringing good news? How am I advocating for the freedom of others? How am I helping others to heal? How am I working to end oppression? I know these are huge tasks, friends. I was just overwhelmed asking myself those questions and pondering them this week. But what small things am I doing toward these goals? Each of us have a small role to play here. I give these questions to you now. Who are you? What do you value? How do you want to be known? How are you contributing to the work Jesus began? We could take these questions as a collective, too. I mean this in terms of us as a church. Who are we? What do we value? How do we want to be known? How are we contributing to the work of Jesus? I really started asking those questions and pondering them for myself a couple of weeks ago when my parents sent me an article that was published in the Lancaster newspaper. This article was about the state of the church in Lancaster County. And honestly, the message of this article left me feeling both discouraged and hopeful. Certain denominations are growing, while others shrink. I'll let you take a wild guess which ones are growing and which ones are shrinking. As Lutherans, as mainline Christians in general, we have a lot of work to do. We are the shrinking ones for a whole host of reasons. And this brings me back to those collective questions I was just asking. Especially, how do we want to be known? My hope, my prayer, is that we want to be known as a church of Jesus followers, as a church that really strives to do the work of Jesus, as a church that cares for the poor, as a church that seeks freedom for captives, as a church that promotes healing, as a church that works to end oppression. In my view, that is way more important than the flashy stages and the pizzazz. Now, I want to be clear that I'm not standing here telling you that we need to worry about what people say about us all the time. No, I'm not saying that. I have been trying to live into the so-called let them theory for many years now, and it's only been recently that this has been articulated in this way for me. Author and podcaster Mel Robbins has gone viral saying, "People will have negative opinions about you and every single thing you do. Let them. Let them judge, let them react, let them doubt you, let them question the decisions you are making. Let them be wrong about you. Instead of wasting your time worrying about them, start living your life in a way that makes you proud of yourself. Let me do what I want to do with my one wild and precious life." It's so good. Friends, Jesus knew what this felt like. Because eventually people would have negative opinions about Jesus, about what he said, about what he did. They judged him, they doubted him, they questioned Jesus and his sanity. Right after our story that we just heard, the people of Jesus' hometown get mad. They get mad at Jesus because they don't like what he teaches. They don't like that Jesus proclaims welcome to the outsider. They don't like that Jesus shows grace for and loves those different from them. What does Jesus do? Jesus persevered because the Spirit of God was with him. Jesus persevered because he understood that his role was bigger than just him. Jesus knew that through him, God was doing something amazing. And Jesus trusted that God was guiding him and that God was going with him. Now more than ever, we as followers of Jesus, we as a church, we have an important role to play. We are being called to great tasks. We are being called to share the good news, to free others, to help them heal, and to end oppression. And like Jesus, friends, we are going to come up against barriers. People will doubt us, people will judge us, people will question us. They might even get mad, outraged, even to know that God's love really is for all people. But we will persevere. God's Spirit is with us. God is at work in us. God is at work through us. God is doing something amazing with us. And God will guide us. And God will be with us. Amen.